Let's be real. We live in a world that's obsessed with perfection. I mean, every photo, every post, every single update seems polished until it's just gleaming. It's like we're all in this constant performance, which it brings up a really important question.
No, seriously, take a second and think about that. We spend so much time curating our lives, right? We're basically the editors-in-chief of our own story. We pick the best shots, the most flattering angles, the cleverest captions. But after all that editing, all that careful construction, what's left of the real, unedited you?
And that right there, that's the core metaphor we're diving into. We present ourselves to the world not as a lived-in home, with some clutter on the counter and maybe a few scuff marks on the walls. No, we present ourselves as a perfect architectural model. Stunning to look at, sure, but completely empty. So let's take a look at the blueprint for this strange architecture we've all been building. Okay, first up, let's talk about that flawless structure we build online. That perfect digital facade. And look, this goes way beyond just vanity. There's a real term for it, impression management, and pretty much all of us are practicing it all the time. So what happens when we try to live behind a facade like that? Well, you start to see cracks in the foundation. This gets us to something called the performance paradox, where the very things we do to try and connect with people actually end up making us feel more alone. This chart just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? On the inside, we know our own reality. It's messy, it's uncertain, it's totally raw. But we compare that messy inside to everyone else's polished outside. They're perfectly curated, poised, and certain highlight reel. And that creates this huge gap, this feeling that we're the only ones who don't have it all together. And there's a name for the mental toll this takes: cognitive dissonance. It's that friction, that nagging sense of unease that comes from trying to hold up a mask that just doesn't match how you really feel. And wow, is that a heavy, exhausting thing to carry around every day? And it gets weirder. This constant performing creates what psychologists call the audience effect. We start acting like we're always on stage, even when no one's watching. We begin to filter our own thoughts, just in case someone might see them. We start censoring ourselves before we even speak. But this isn't all just in our heads. We're also dealing with some pretty powerful external forces. I'm talking about the algorithms that run our digital lives, the ones that are quietly, subtly, pushing all of us to be more and more the same. Let's call it the algofication of our personality. Think about it. We use filters to smooth our skin, apps to make our voices sound better. We edit out the ums and ahs when we talk. We even learn to hide any emotion that might be considered low vibe. But those pauses, those little imperfections, that's our humanity. That's where the real thinking happens. And that brings us to this crucial point. By editing out all the so-called flaws, we are, in a very real way, editing out our own humanity. A world that's perfectly smooth has no room for happy accidents, no room for serendipity, and certainly no room for the full, messy, beautiful range of human emotions. Okay, so that all sounds a little bleak. The big question is, how do we fight back? And this is where we pivot to the solution. It's not about trying to build a more authentic you. It's about finding the one that's been buried. It's time to be less of a builder and more of an archaeologist. This is such a powerful shift in perspective, isn't it? Authenticity isn't just another project for you to perfect. It's a process of subtraction. It's about stripping away all those layers of what society expects, what the algorithm wants, so you can rediscover who you actually are underneath it all. So here are a few practical ways to start that excavation. First, a digital detox. This isn't just about resting your eyes. It's about depriving your mind of constant input. You have to stop consuming everyone else's thoughts 24/7 if you ever want to hear your own. Second, a value audit. Get real with yourself. Which of your goals are actually yours and which have you just sort of copied from someone else? And finally, shadow work. That's about learning to accept and even embrace the parts of you that are never going to be Instagrammable. So once you've found that original blueprint, you can start to rebuild. But this time, you're doing it with a totally new appreciation for imperfection. Because authenticity isn't some destination you arrive at. It's a daily practice of trying to align who you are on the inside with who you are on the outside. There's this beautiful Japanese art form called kintsugi. When a piece of pottery breaks, they don't throw it away. They mend it, but they use gold lacquer to fill the cracks. The breaks aren't hidden, they're highlighted. They become the most beautiful part of the piece. The object is considered more precious because it was broken. Our flaws, our mistakes, our scars, those are our golden seams.
And here's the big secret they don't tell you. We chase perfection because we think it'll make people admire us, and it might, but admiration happens from a distance. It's our imperfections, our vulnerability that actually create real human connection. So how do you actually practice this? You can start small. Try microdosing vulnerability. Share one small, honest thing that isn't perfect. You can also redefine what success means to you. Shift your goal away from getting external validation, likes and comments, to achieving internal resonance. Does it feel true to you? And you can do a regular coherence test. Just ask yourself, does the life I'm showing the world match the life I'm actually feeling?
So I want to leave you with this one last thought, bringing us all the way back to the beginning. The most beautiful, most interesting buildings aren't the sterile, flawless models. They're the ones that are lived in, the ones that show the grain of the wood and the weathering of the storms. So the question for you is, which one are you? The building or the rendering?